Welcome to another episode of Managing Director Diaries. I'm Gareth Jones. I'm a multi-award winning business owner based in North Wales with a history of business in all different types of sectors, startups, and we are here to help and advise and guide you as a business owner on some exciting things and things you may need to know as a new business owner or someone who's trying to get into business, and as well help and advise people who are already in business on new ideas and how to be creative. So this episode, we're going to be talking about business costs. So when you scale a business, when you run a business, there's going to be costs. Depending on the size of your business, depends on how big those costs are going to be. So today, one of the biggest things we're going to talk about is energy. I've got a lot of experience around the energy. I've been in the sort of energy sector for over 15 years. I know an awful lot about helping save energy in businesses. But there's a lot of things you need to look at when it comes to saving energy in the business. The thing is with energy, it's probably against your staff cost, it's probably one of the biggest costs you're going to face. And obviously, different businesses have different energy needs. If you're a manufacturing business, your energy is going to be massive. If you're warehousing, maybe not so big, but still, lighting, heating, it all costs money. It's all coming off your profits. So taking control of your energy is really important. So the first thing to look at from a business point of view when it comes to energy is understanding your needs and understanding what you're actually using. So you need to get your bills out and start looking at what you are being billed for and understanding those bills, because they can be quite confusing. What we definitely recommend is requesting from your energy company what we call half-hourly data. Half-hourly data is data that comes in the form of sort of a graph, an Excel spreadsheet, and it shows us what the peaks of your demand are at half-hourly intervals across the day. So when we come to look at your energy and how we can save your energy, it really helps us map out what your energy needs look like. Because we don't know your business. You know your business, and some business owners don't know the business. They don't know when their peak energy needs are. So you might find, for example, a lot of your energy is at certain times of the day. You might be able to negotiate a cheaper tariff for cheaper nighttime electric, or moving your power or moving your manufacturing to the evening may work out cheaper. So there's a lot of different things you need to do. You need to understand where your power usage is, and that's really important, because if all your power is it overnight, for example, because you do get a cheaper rate, that's great, but actually if you actually had your manufacturing in the day with solar panels, you might be able to get that for free, which works out to you financially better off than having a cheaper night rate. So there's a few things you need to look at. So understanding your energy needs and understanding how you use your energy is really important. The next thing is to look at reduction. One of the biggest things we find across the country in offices is little heaters tucked under the way in offices and powering people's and keeping people warm. These are ferociously expensive to heat. For example, the small 2 kilowatt heaters, they can, even on a domestic tariff, you're talking 50p an hour to run. That's for one heater. That's based on sort of around the 25p. So if you're unfortunate that you signed into a higher energy price during the cost of living crisis, where a lot of business owners did, and we know you did, because you had no other choice at the time, you could be paying £1 an hour per heater. So just be really, really careful, because you might just think one heater, but it's not. You could have 5, 6, 7, depending on your company. You could have 20 or 30 of those going on at the time. They're a health risk, they're a fire risk, and they use phenomenal amounts of electricity. So if you've got those in place, you need to look at removing them or replacing them, or looking at something. If you've got inadequate heating needs, or you've got heating issues within your office, that's something else you need to address, because obviously you've got responsibilities as an employer to provide certain temperatures within a building. So little things like that. Lighting's a big thing as well. So if you haven't got LEDs in your building, then that's something you need to change pretty quickly. There's some really good savings on LEDs. You can actually save up to 90% of your electricity costs from a lighting point of view by switching to LEDs. So LED lights, really effective. They last long, pretty easy to retrofit. It's something we offer as a service within our business. We've got one for a coating business in a few weeks' time in their small warehouse unit. It's a bit of a no-brainer switching to LED lights. Those can save you good ongoing amounts of money, day in, day out. Fit them, done. You shouldn't really have any issues unless you're unlucky. So lighting's a big thing. We've touched on heating. But when we touched on heating, that was more around having portable heaters stuffed under desks, keeping people's legs warm. The other aspect is looking at the general heating of the offices and things like that, and looking at the efficiency of those systems and how well they actually serve the property you have now. Because sometimes when the heating system was fitted, it was fine for the purpose of the building when it was fitted, but maybe doesn't serve the purpose for your building now. So sometimes we find an awful lot that heating systems are outdated. They don't really fit the purpose of the building, and therefore they're costing an awful lot of money to run to try and heat that space. So that's something we'd also look at. A lot of the things I'm talking about at the moment are things that, even if you're renting a property, you can look at. It all comes down to cost. We fully appreciate that. But I'm trying to give you an insight into some of the things that may cause you issues, cause you more costs, and things you need to be aware of. Obviously, if you own the property, you can do a lot more. You could change the boilers, you can do this and that, you can adjust radiators and make all sorts of savings if you want to. But we appreciate people who are renting properties don't necessarily want to add too much value to them because they might be on a short lease, that sort of thing. So those questions are very different. And if you've got any questions for the comments, then put them in the comments below, and we'd be happy to help them and respond back if you've got a specific situation you want us to answer. But heating is something you need to be aware of, and there's lots of different types of systems. Obviously, we know that UK government wants us to move away from gas. That's something the domestic homes seem to be at the forefront of that rather than businesses, but it will come. They want us off gas, and so the only other source pretty much in the short term is electric. And what can generate electric is obviously solar panels. So solar panels, in our opinion, are key to all our energy needs. It's something you can't really get away with. So we do some fantastic low energy. The room I'm sat in now is powered by is heated by something called an infrared heater. So these are panels that fit to the wall or to the ceilings. They emit a infrared ray that warm the room and warm you. They don't heat the air. It's very different to conventional heating, where they heats the air. These don't heat the air. They heat the fabric of the room. They heat the chairs. They heat me. They heat Tyler, who's recording this. It heats us, and it's a very, very different type of heat, but they're very low energy electric heating. So it's another type of system that can be used to reduce your electricity costs. Like anything, there's a payback. And the thing we have at the moment is gas is still very cheap. People may not think it is cheap, but it is actually pretty cheap. But what I am forecasting is over the next 5 years, gas is going to get very expensive on purpose because they want people to get off gas. So watch out for that. That's one of my predictions. Gas is going to go through the roof over the next 5 years. Wholesale costs probably come down, but because the government want us off it, the price will go up to deter us to move away from it. So the key is solar, and I'll move on to solar again shortly. So we've covered lighting, we've covered heating. The other aspect is insulation. It typically within the building world. So one of my current sort of things is I'm the current president for the Federation of Master Builders for Wales here in the UK. And one of the things we always try and do is we try and insulate and, look at the thermal fabric of a building, because what we don't want is it costs you all that money to heat the property and get that heat in there. And then we have a leaky property and all that heat escapes. So making sure the property's airtight as much as possible, the windows are right and things, is all pretty standard stuff you need to be aware of. Again, comes down to costs. So moving on to solar, and we'll talk about renewables in general as well. So really, I think every business in the UK, where possible, should have solar panels. We all typically operate during the day. Solar operates during the day, of course. Not all businesses, but a majority of businesses are 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. We're a 7-day-a-week business. We've got a sister company with a showroom that's open all 7 days a week. So we're consuming power all the time. But the key is making sure that you've got that backup, you've got that security, and what happens if energy prices go through the roof? Is your business protected? Because we went through the cost of living crisis, and arguably we still are. A couple of years ago, prices went through the roof. The war on Ukraine, prices went through the roof. No one had any control. Government stepped in for consumers and put a cap on things, but it was still really high. Businesses had no support whatsoever. And businesses had to suffer, though unless you were in a fixed contract, you were okay. But people who were out of contract and they were floating, paying the current market rate, some people's energy went up to £1 a unit, £1 a kilowatt hour, which is it's insane, absolutely insane. So can you imagine your electricity costs 6 times what they would be? It's just unthinkable, especially if you're running a larger business. So securing your own energy needs is vital in today's strange world we live in. We live in a crazy world, and it's really important to make sure you've got that security, you've got those things in place to protect you as a business, because we're all vulnerable. And without those things in place, we could all be subject to massive increase to the business out of our control, which ultimately could put a lot of people out of business. And unfortunately, it did. There was a lot of businesses that went under because energy prices went through the roof. And there's only so much you can pass on to the customer. So securing your own energy is really, really important. So solar panels for businesses is a massively, massively growing sector. It's something we've been doing for the last 15 years. We do an awful lot of it. We're looking after clients in the leisure industry, care homes, manufacturing, tourism. We even do coffee shops. We're helping all sizes of business, from small to big, because they all have the same common need to secure their energy needs. So whether you're selling coffee, or whether you're a science museum or a very large tourist attraction, energy prices are key. Energy prices can cripple your business very, very quickly. So what we're finding is a lot of businesses are looking into solar to make sure they've got that energy security, because if you haven't got it, you're just very, very vulnerable. And the thing is, nowadays, a lot of consumers want to buy from companies who are energy conscious, who are on the net zero agenda, who want to do the right thing. So people want to see that you are doing the right thing and investing in solar power. But how cool would it be to tell people that the coffee you're serving is solar powered coffee? It's a really powerful statement, and I see a lot of our customers do this sort of thing. And we've done a lot of work with some of our customers around PR and things. And it's a great kudos for our customers. I've got a PR shoot next week on a new shopping centre that's got a big solar system on it. So it's fantastic for customers to see that the organisation is doing great things for the environment. So solar power is key. And you may have heard in the news and on the internet now about batteries and things like that. So batteries are becoming more and more popular in as part of the battle to help reduce our energy bills. Commercial batteries are not as common. They're becoming more and more popular. But the key thing is, what we would recommend is invest in a decent system with monitoring. So unless it's very, very clear from the start, we can demonstrate that a battery would be useful. We would always recommend in a commercial environment, because the investment's so big, is run the solar for 12 months, get all the data. Let's then look at how much power is going back to the grid, how much power you're buying from the grid, looking at what surplus there is, and is there a business case to put a battery in? or do we need to put more solar in? Because sometimes things change within the business. We do ask the questions, you're planning electric car points, so you're planning to have an extension, you're planning on doing this, you're planning on, if your energy bill is going to go up, we need to know about it because we need to factor it into the design. We may need to put a bigger system in to allow for your future expansion. So those sorts of things are really, really important for us to understand your needs. But if you've run your system for 12 months, we can then understand, is a battery going to work for you? Because without the data, it's all guesswork. But it's guesswork on your money. You're paying the bill. So just be really careful getting advice around batteries, because a lot of companies will be happy to sell you one because they're very expensive. But ultimately, if you get the calculations wrong, the paybacks can be eye-watering. So just be careful and watch out for that. So batteries are a very, very credible way. They work hand in hand with solar panels. So you would obviously store any excess power that during the day into your batteries. So at night, the site, your location, your shop, whatever it is, will be running on battery power. That's one of the ways of using it. So something to consider, but like I said, it depends how much spare power you've got. Typically, you would design a system to suit your base load. That's what we do. There's an awful lot of companies out there who are designing and specifying solar systems pretty poorly. So for example, if you had a business and you were using 250,000 kilowatt hours or 250,000 units a year, which is a lot, but it's not a lot compared to some businesses. So you're spending quite a bit on your electricity. What they'll do is they'll design a system that'll generate 250,000 kilowatt hours. So on paper, they can say to the customer, "You're buying this. We're gonna fit a system that generates this. We're gonna pretty much offset your entire energy bill, Mr. Customer." Customer's like, "Wow, this is amazing. We're gonna have no bill. This is fantastic. Great." But do you remember I talked about the half-hourly data at the beginning? That's the key. If you look at the half-hourly data, it'll show the base load of the site. Yes, you might have peaks, but your peaks could be you might have high energy in the evening. So it's all right, this company selling you this system that's going to potentially offset your complete energy bill, but actually, what they haven't worked out is the fact that most of your energy is in the evening at night when the solar panels aren't working. So how can they offset? So that power that's being generated during the day is going to be going back to the grid. And yes, you can get some money for that, but it will extend your payback a lot further than designing the right system to start with. So system design is really important, and it's one of the biggest things we come across, that people are given the wrong information about how their system should be designed. There's, in some situations we have to overcompensate solar systems, but that's typically where we've got shading or we've got some issues where we need to generate that extra power to sort of bump it up, because you're not going to get the power you might need normally. So solar, really, really key part to energy generation, energy security in your business. There is some other things, I'll quickly run through some of the other sort of renewable energy technologies. You've got air source heat pumps. Not a big fan of them. Quite a big outlay. In a business environment, they can work, but, not that quite straightforward to integrate into your business. Ground source heat pumps, very rare you see a ground source heat pump in a commercial environment because of the infrastructure needed. I mean, a domestic property, you could be talking 30 to 50,000. So it's a big expense, and that's for domestic. Wind turbines, yes, wind turbines could be a fantastic proposition if you've got the land, if you've got the space, and you've got the energy requirements. Wind is a very, very, very viable option and a very good source of energy, like I said, if you tick those boxes and you've got the need. One thing I will say about wind is, we used to do a lot of wind feasibility studies many years ago, and everyone said they have a windy location. Everyone thought that their land was really windy. But actually, when we put a wind survey system in, it wasn't that good, because you want clean flow flowing air, not disturbed air, because it all affects the outputs of the wind turbines. So there was actually very little sites we came across that would actually perform that well. And you've got a lot of restrictions with planning and aviation authorities, that sort of thing. But wind can be a good solution in the right places. So just because you think you get a bit of wind doesn't mean your site is a perfect wind turbine location. So just bear that in mind. So we've got wind, we've got biomass. You may come across biomass. So the biomass is a burning of wood. It could be wood pellets, it could be logs, it could be waste wood. This is, some people debate whether burning of wood is a renewable energy. The theory is obviously it traps the carbon within the wood, and when you burn the wood, obviously it gets rid of the carbon, and that's why it becomes renewable technology. Biomass has its place in a lot of situations. There were some big grants around years ago, the renewable heat incentive. So a lot of biomass was fitted into some large properties that required big amounts of heat, and I think they still work very well today. Again, big infrastructure costs, can work well, but we've also seen some sort of quite basic systems where you can get a giant space heater for like a warehouse situation, where you just feed it old pallets and things like that. That's something that could be integrated into a business, which is a way of reducing your waste, providing some heat, and it's a form of biomass. So those are just some of these renewable technologies that could be integrated into your business. But the key thing is understanding your usage, understanding where all your costs are coming from, and getting a real grip on your energy needs within your business. Because if you haven't got that grip, you're not going to get a real understanding of where you can make savings and where those costs are coming from and how you can deal with them. You know, as business owners, we all need to get a grip of our costs. We can't bury our head in the sands. If you're a business owner, it comes down to you. So you need to have a grip of costs, wages, outgoings, all these different things at all different scales and levels of business. So it's really important, with business energy being one of the highest factors of costs within your business, you need to have a good grip of it and really understand, get that half-hourly data and start understanding your usage, understanding where your power is getting used, how it's getting used, at what rate it's getting used, and then look at whether some savings could be made. Can you switch a tariff? Switching tariffs might just save you some money to start with. But it's really important to start getting a grip of your energy, understanding it, and looking at ways to reduce it and secure your future business needs, because we all want continuity, we all want security. Our staff, our team want security. So as a business owner, it should be one of the top priorities is to look at energy and how we can make sure that we're set up for the future. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the information today on business continuity, business energy, and understanding how we can secure our business future. Tune in for more, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.